third panelist is Bruce Heyman, nominated to be Ambassador to Canada. Mr. Heyman is a Managing Director of Private Wealth Management at Goldman Sachs. He is the Business Leader Council Advisor for the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, Fix the Debt Coalition, and serves on a number of boards, including the Executive Committee for the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. Let me welcome to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Rubio and Senator McCain, for the opportunity to appear before you today. I would particularly like to thank Senator Durbin for his earlier generous introductory remarks, and I hope I can live up to his standard that he has set as an exemplary public servant. I would also like to thank both President Obama and Secretary Kerry for their trust and confidence in my abilities. I'm extraordinarily grateful to the President for nominating me to be the next United States Ambassador to Canada, and I'm humbled and honored to appear before the Senate today. If I may, I'd like to introduce my wife, Vicki, to the committee. I wouldn't be here without her love and support. And I'm also joined by my phenomenal children, David, Liza, and Caroline, and my brother, Richard Heyman, and my sister and brother-in-law, Gwen and Brian McCallion, and their beautiful daughters, Shelley and Katie McCallion. Mr. Chairman, the relationship the United States shares with Canada is indeed a special one. President Kennedy told the Canadian Parliament, "Geography has made us neighbors. History has made us friends. Economics has made us partners. And necessity has made us allies. Those whom nature hath so joined together, let no man put asunder." This statement rings ever true today. The United States and Canada continue to share a strong economic relationship, a global partnership, a border that makes us neighbors, and interests and values that make us friends. For many Americans and Canadians, there are deeper personal ties, and I can look to our own family as an example. Vicki's great-grandparents, with her grandfather and siblings, immigrated to Canada through Quebec. The family made Toronto their home, while Vicki's grandfather continued on to the United States. But our relationship is hardly unique to Canada. It represents just a single example among the countless links that bind the people of our two countries together. And if confirmed, I plan to embrace the unique mosaic of Canadian history, culture, and people by visiting the diverse communities across the beautiful and expansive country of Canada and all of its provinces and territories. At the Select USA Summit in October, Secretary Kerry said, "Foreign policy today is economic policy," and I couldn't agree more. If confirmed, my top priority will be enhancing our economic partnership. The United States and Canada already enjoy the world's largest and most comprehensive trade relationship, with nearly $2 billion in goods and services flowing across our border each and every day. It's obviously a tremendous trade relationship, the greatest in the world, and I'd like to see it expand further. If confirmed, I believe my background and experience would prove useful in this effort. As a Goldman Sachs Managing Director, I've spent my entire career constructing business partnerships and helping investors see possibilities. If confirmed, I will work to foster trade and investment that creates jobs on both sides of our common border. And I will also work to expand our environmental partnerships and cooperation to protect and preserve the natural resources our nations are blessed to enjoy and share. Our border with Canada stretches 5,500 miles, and there are more than 100 border crossings. By working together, the United States and Canada can keep those crossings open to legitimate trade and travel while protecting our citizens. If confirmed, I will continue to build upon the success of the B2B and RCC initiatives announced by the President and the Prime Minister in 2011. A secure and efficient border is in the interest of both of our countries, and I will focus on a security strategy that promotes legitimate flow of people, goods, and services between our two countries and fosters efficiency and North American competitiveness and jobs. And finally, I'd like to emphasize how greatly I value our global partnership. The United States is fortunate to have a neighbor that shares our strong commitment to democratic values and works tirelessly to promote peace, prosperity, and human rights around the world. Canada is our partner in NORAD and in NATO, and it's with great appreciation I acknowledge and respect the Canadian troops who've served bravely alongside Americans, especially in Afghanistan. And if confirmed, I will be a respectful steward of this partnership with Canada. More than any other country in the world, our relationship with Canada has the most direct and immediate impact on America's security and prosperity. I feel honored to be nominated, and if confirmed, I pledge to serve responsibly and with integrity. Thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to answering any of your questions.
Thank you very much to all of you.
Mr. Heyman, you're familiar with the XL pipeline issue,
I am familiar with it, yes, sir.
and your position is?
There's a process underway at the State Department, and when that process is concluded, I think that I will be the person on the ground that will be communicating with the Canadians that decision.
So you have no position because there's a process that's been going on for several years.
That's correct.
Let me ask you two important questions. There are many in our relationship with Canada, which, as you described, is extraordinary. One is an item that I have voiced as it relates to other countries, again, intellectual property rights. We have pushed for strong IP protections in the TPP agreement. Canada has not, and to date has not been supportive of pro-innovation efforts in those negotiations or in its own domestic practices. An example can be found in the heightened standard for patentable utility Canada now uses, which is contrary to the global best practices and its international commitments. That innovators should face significant intellectual property challenges with one of the largest trading partners with the United States is a serious concern. So if you are confirmed, what steps would you take to address Canada's access barriers? I understand that our trade representative will be a big part of this, but you're obviously going to be engaged on a bilateral basis, on a daily basis, with respect to IP protections through the TPP and otherwise.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for that question. Intellectual property rights are the core of what American institutions depend on to compete globally. American ingenuity is our special sauce, and we work so hard doing research and development at the corporate level and depend upon patent rights and protections when we sell products overseas. I'm aware of the issues that have been brought up with regard to intellectual property rights. That being said, I know the Canadians are working harder to try to do better in this area. They've worked on passing legislation on internet piracy issues last year, and there is legislation before the Parliament right now on counterfeiting and some border rules that would go into effect. That being said, if considered to be ambassador by this esteemed committee, I will take this issue to the Canadian government, and I will make this issue an important issue. As I said, doing business with Canada is an important part of the role that I plan to take as ambassador to Canada, and that will be my #1 mission, is expanding our economic footprint. But unless we have the intellectual property protections for our companies, it will make it incredibly difficult to expand those relationships. So I will make that a priority, sir.
Right, very good. Canada recently claimed that much of the Arctic seafloor, including the North Pole, is Canadian territory. Russia has made a similar claim in the past. Do you think that, and the United States is undertaking studies necessary to determine whether any of the Arctic beyond our 200-mile exclusive economic zone is on our contiguous continental shelf and therefore American territory? Do you think, or my question actually is, to your knowledge from your briefings, the U.S. undertaking such a study?
Yes. We are mapping as well.
That is important.
The seabed floor.
And is our ability, should that mapping ultimately define that we actually have an interest and a claim beyond the 200 miles, is that ability to make that claim important, an important reason to ratify the Law of the Sea Treaty?
It's my understanding that those participants in the Arctic Council and those that have an interest in the region have agreed to adjudication. So as this mapping is taking place, it's natural to assume that there may be overlap and maybe even multiple countries thinking that the same territory is actually theirs. And we'll have to go through an adjudication process. And it's my understanding that that part is not necessarily a requirement of this ratification of the treaty to make that
So
happen.
we could pursue our interests here notwithstanding ratification of the treaty?
That is my understanding
Okay.
at this point.
And if we were to succeed in this process in terms of our claim, would that mean that Santa Claus is an American citizen? You don't have to answer that.
So I would like to
That
answer
might put
that
you in a lot of
question.
hot water.
I understand that. But as I think you're aware, NORAD tracks Santa Claus when he takes off. And it's with joint Canadian and U.S. participation that will secure Santa Claus's protection. And it's from my understanding, Santa Claus has a special right of being a citizen of the world, and he can enter U.S. space
Wow,
without.
you have displayed your diplomatic abilities in an extraordinary fashion. So
Thank you.
all right. With that insight, our thanks to all of you for both your willingness to serve and your engagement here before the committee. The record will remain open till noon tomorrow. I would urge you, if there are questions submitted for the record, for you to answer them expeditiously so that the committee can consider your nominations before a business meeting. And with that, this hearing is now adjourned.